Welcome to our fifth video in the series for creating a residential asset for city skylines. In the first few videos we used SketchUp Make 2017 to make our model and apply textures to it. 3ds Max was used to orient that model and unwrap the texture, and now we'll be using Adobe Photoshop to edit that texture file and create both our specular and illumination maps. So let's get started by launching Adobe Photoshop. Once Photoshop opens, go to File, Open, navigate to the folder where you saved the original texture file from 3ds Max. Locate the file. In this case we named it house_d.png. Remember that _d stands for diffuse map. Select the file and click Open. And this is the texture file that was created by 3ds Max. It contains all of the textures that will be applied to the faces of the model when we import it into city skylines. It also includes the blue windows we created, the pink doors, and the green garage door. To begin, let's create a new layer so we can create that specular and illumination map that we had discussed. To create a new layer, go to Layer, New, Layer. And we'll name this layer Spec Ill for specular and illumination, and then click OK. You can see that the layer was created in the Layers panel, and that checkerboard pattern indicates that the layer is empty. So we want to fill that with a color. In order to fill it, we go to our foreground color swatch, double click on it, and we need to select black as our color. So you can either do that from this color picker down here, drag down to select the black color, or you can change the RGB values to 000, which is pure black. RGB values range from 0 to 255, so if we change them all to 255, it creates a white color. In this case we'll just do black and click OK. So now we have our black color and we want to fill this entire area. You can use that paint bucket tool, click on that and fill, and now our entire specular layer is filled. We want to turn that off right now so that we can see the background layer again, so we click the little eye here next to our specular layer. That'll turn it off, and then select the background layer by clicking the thumbnail image next to the background layer. We're going to start with the windows, so we want to select all of these blue windows here. The easiest way to do that is to go to Select, Color Range, and then we want to select those windows. So with our eyedropper selected, just click on any of the blue windows that you created, or any color that you use to indicate the window. And you can see in your preview that we've selected all of the windows. We have fuzziness ramped up to 200, but you can go a little bit lower depending on if you have any words that you had put on that, if you used an actual texture or just a straight color. If you have any blue anywhere else in your image that's actually part of the texture, as you ramp fuzziness down, you may see the preview image here, you may see it get a little spotty. So you just want to ramp it up until you get that pure color. And then click OK, and you can see the little walking ants going around each one of our windows. So let's reactivate our specular layer and select it by clicking the thumbnail. We still have those ants here, which is what we want because we want to turn all of these areas white. With specularity, the black areas will have no sheen to it whatsoever, and the white areas will be high sheen. Since these are windows, we want them pure white. And the easiest way to change this pure white is to go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels, or you can click Ctrl L as a shortcut. Now remembering that 0 is black and 255 is white, if we look at the output levels, it's outputting the entire range here from 0 to 255. We don't want that. We want everything to be output at white, so we just need to change this 0 to 255. And that changes our entire selection to white. And we click OK. Now we can deselect all of our white areas here by clicking Ctrl D, or you can go to your marquee tool and click somewhere on the image, and it'll deselect all of those window areas. And now we can go ahead and save this. Go File, Save As. Make sure you're in the same folder where you had saved the original model and original diffuse map image. And for save file type, we want to use a PNG for this as well. So we drop that down, go down to PNG. We don't want to overwrite the diffuse map. We want to make a specular map. So we need to change this D to an S for specular. And then just click save. You'll be prompted the file size that you want to use. We're fine using a large file size and clicking OK. And now we've created the specular map. With the illumination map, a 0 value on illumination indicates that it'll have no illumination at all. I believe a range between 135 and 255 will indicate a random time that the window will illuminate when it turns night in City Skylines. In our case, we can leave these at 255, and it just means that they'll randomly turn on at some point during the night when we're playing the game. So we can actually double the specular map for an illumination map. So we'll just go and save this as a PNG again. And for illumination, it's _I. So now we have a specular map that has windows with high sheen. We have an illumination map that matches the specular map, which just means the windows will turn on at random times during the night. And now we can begin working on our actual textures. So we'll turn this layer off again by clicking the little eyeball and selecting our background layer. Now we want to select all the doors and turn the pink doors into an actual texture. So we'll use the same process. We'll go to Select, Color Range. And with our eyedropper tool selected, we'll select that pink color there. Make sure our fuzziness is adjusted accordingly, and click OK. And now our walking ants are around all the doors. Now in this case, rather than just creating a new layer, we're going to hit Control-C to copy, and Control-V. And that pastes these doors on as a new layer. If we turn off the background layer, you can see those doors are still here, and they appear as layer 1. And we're just going to rename this to Door Outline, just to stay organized, and hit Enter. And that changes the name of that layer. Now we want to bring in our door texture that we're going to be using, so I'm going to go File, Open, navigate to my texture folder, and grab this door image. Now we want to get it into the house_d.png image, so we need to hit Control-A, that'll select the entire door, Control-C to copy it, go back to this tab, and Control-V, paste it down as a new layer. And we're going to rename this layer by double-clicking on the layer name, and we're going to name it Door Texture. Now we need to resize this door and orient it correctly. So if we zoom into the image by clicking Alt and zooming in, we can faintly see that all of these doors, I don't know if it's going to show through YouTube's compression, but all of these are labeled door, and this is the bottom and this is the top for all three of these. So we know we need to spin our door to the right. So I'm going to hit Control-T to transform our door texture layer. When we get handles around here, just mouse over off to the side of one of the corners, and our cursor will turn to a rotation cursor. If we grab that and begin dragging, we can free transform this device, or we can free transform this image and put it in any orientation we want. But if we hold the Shift key while we're doing that, it locks to the major degrees as it's rotating around. So we can rotate this to 90 degrees. We know that it's locked in, and we can release our mouse button, release the Shift key. Now we need to resize this door to be the same size as these, and we can do that just by grabbing one of the handles and bringing it down. Now it maintains its aspect ratio if you're just clicking and dragging, but again, if you hold the Shift key, now you can adjust the aspect ratio. If we remove the Shift key, it snaps back to the original aspect ratio that it had. So we're going to just reduce this in size, drag it over here, then clicking Alt and using the scroll wheel, I can zoom in use space to move that around, and now I can fine-tune the adjustment. We want to make sure that the entire pink area is covered up. So we'll bring this down, bring it up. You can see that we're hiding the top there, but on the what would be the left-hand side of the door, there's still some pink reveal, so I need to drag this out. If I just grab this handle and drag up, it's going to still want to maintain that aspect ratio. We don't want that, so I will click hold the shift key down, drag up a little bit, make sure that entire pink area is covered, and then I hit enter, and that commits that. So now we have our door texture oriented in the correct location for this door, but we have two more doors that we need to work on. So with the door layer selected, I'm going to go to my move tool that's on our tool panel. I'm going to click that, hold the Alt key, and click and drag on that door, and it's just going to duplicate that layer. So you can see now down in our layer panel we have the original door texture and we have a door texture copy. I'm going to do that one more time with this door, hit the Alt key, drag down to this door, or this pink door section here. Now I need to resize these. When the textures are created, there might be some shrinking or squashing done to the actual texture, just to make sure everything can fit on one page. So we just need to adjust our doors so that when it gets placed on the model in City Skylines, it'll actually place correctly. So we want to make sure all this pink area is covered. So again, we'll work on this first one here with this selected. This last layer that we had created selected, we will hit Control-T to transform, and hold Shift as we drag up. Make sure that top pink part is covered. Shift and drag to the top of the door, and now that's covered. Now we'll go to the door texture copy, which was this one, and we'll do the same thing. Control-T, hit Shift as we drag up, make sure that top part is covered, and just go back in, make sure we cover all of the pink. It's a square door, and we have some areas here we just want to make sure we cover everything. And that looks good, so we hit enter, and now the doors cover the entire pink area. Now I want to merge all of these door layers down, so I will select the top layer by clicking the thumbnail, and then I will, on the keyboard, press Control-E. That'll merge these first two that we had done, but we still have this original one, so we'll hit Control-E again, and now all doors are on a single layer. Now selecting our door outline layer here, click Control on the keyboard and then click that thumbnail, and you'll see that selects anything that's visible on that layer. Now we'll activate our door texture layer here and select the thumbnail so that we have the layer activated. And now the pink areas of our doors are selected for the texture, but we don't want that because we want to remove anything that's outside of that pink area, such as these areas right in here and right on the top of this door. So we want to just remove those. So you can either hit Control-Shift-I on the keyboard, and that'll invert the selection so you're selecting anything outside of the original pink area. Or you can go up to your select menu and select inverse, and that'll select that as well. So now it isn't the main door part that's selected, it's anything that's outside of our walking ants here, which is everywhere else on the image. So now if I just hit delete, it's going to remove any portion of the door that's sitting outside of those pink areas. And then Control-D again to deselect. Now when I turn the background layer on, you can see that the doors have been replaced from that pink to the door texture color. Now we're done with this, so we can delete the door outline layer by clicking and dragging on the thumbnail down to the trash can down below. Now we've deleted that layer. Now the next thing we want to do is grab this garage door. So it's the exact same process. We go to Select, Color Range, select that green, click OK, copy and paste it to create a new layer, and turn off the background layer just so it's very clear what we're looking at. I'm going to go to File, Open, and grab this garage door texture, open that up, Control A to select it all, Control C to copy it all, go back to our original image, Control V, and now it's been pasted as a new layer. So I'm going to rename this to garage door text, and this layer will rename to, just so we are aware of what layers were selected. Move out here. And again, I don't know if this is showing up, but it looks like our garage door is actually upside down here, so the top is the bottom, and the bottom here is the top on the model. So I need to spin our garage door texture around. So bring it back here, Control T to transform it. Spin it and hold the Shift key to lock it in. And then I'm just going to shrink it down, bring it over, zoom in here. And then holding the Shift key, make sure we cover up all of the green there. And then hit Enter to commit that. Now we only had one garage door, so we don't need to worry about merging layers, but we do want to select the garage door outline layer and just select the visible portion of that image. So we're going to hit Control on the keyboard, click the thumbnail. With that selected on the keyboard, hit Control-Shift-I to select the inverse of the selection, and just hit Delete. And now that removes any area that's outside of that garage door. And we can turn the background layer back on, and you can see the garage door is there. One thing that I forgot to do a little earlier is actually remove all of these windows. If we left that blue color in on the actual diffuse map for the windows would turn out with a blue sheen on them, and we don't want that. Now if you wanted to add some drapes or curtains or any kind of blinds in there, you can add those texture files in here. In this case, I just want them to be open windows. Maybe the house hadn't been moved in yet, or maybe nobody has put any window dressings on, so we're just going to leave them as clear windows. And again, on the diffuse map, anything that's black is going to be transparent on the actual model when we import it into City Skylines. So we want to turn all of these blue areas black. So we're going to select the background. We're going to go up to Select Color Range, select the blue for the windows, click OK. And with those selected, I can't just delete these. I have to fill them in with black. So we're just going to use the same process as we had done with the specular and illumination layers. We're going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and bring our white down to black. And now all of our windows have turned black. Control D to deselect. Alright, so now we've made all the adjustments, we've applied the new textures to the image. The last thing we need to do is change the saturation and the brightness and contrast of this image. City Skylines really ramps up the saturation and brightness for any texture file that you import there. And it ramps it up to an extreme where it may look fine on your computer screen as it's sitting in the image now, but as soon as you import it into City Skylines, every color is going to be blown out. And any lighter area is just going to shine as if it's illuminating. So we really need to tone this down. So what I'm going to do is add a layer so that we can adjust that saturation, and then add another layer so we can adjust the brightness and contrast. So we're going to go to the very top visible layer we have here, which is our door texture. And down at the bottom here, you can see a new fill or adjustment layer. It's a little circle that's split in half. Half of it is black, half of it is white. So we're just going to click on that, and we're going to go to Hue/Saturation. And that's created a new layer for us, and it's given us some properties up in the Properties panel. And we just want to bring saturation way down. So I typically bring it down to a -60. And it really desaturates your entire image, but since City Skylines will ramp the saturation back up, everything will look okay once you bring it into City Skylines. So now that we've done that, we need to adjust the brightness of the image, and we do it in the same manner. We click down here for a new filler adjustment layer, click on brightness and contrast, and for brightness, bring it down to -90. And for contrast, we want to bring that down to -30. So now we have an image where we've reduced the brightness, we've reduced the contrast, and we've reduced the saturation. And when we bring it into City Skylines, it's going to increase the brightness, increase the contrast, and increase that saturation. So everything will balance out once we get it into cities. Now there's a little bit more you can do to this image. With each of the doors, I've included a door with windows. So if you wanted those windows to be transparent, all you would have to do is on the background layer, go in and with your marquee tool selected, just drag out, hold the shift key to select multiple areas. Now we can make that selection transparent by going up to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and reducing the 255 to 0. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. First we need to go back to the door layer. Now these areas won't be rendered when we import the model into City Skylines. So these will be transparent areas. Now if you want to go a step further, we can go up to our specular and illumination layer, bring that level back up to 255, and now these areas of the window will illuminate at nighttime. So we'll go ahead and save the specular and illumination layer again, save those files. And turn off that layer. And now we want to save this house_d.png file. So we'll just save as PNG. And this is our main diffuse map, so we don't need to change the file name for this one. Click Save. Yes, we want to replace it. And then I saved this file as a Photoshop file so that it maintains all of my layers. So if I ever need to come back in here and change a color, or something didn't turn out quite right when I'm looking at the model in City Skylines, I can make those adjustments, resave the image files, and put them back into the City Skylines folder and re-import that asset. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this as house without the _d .psd. Click Save, and now we have that file saved, and we can come back in and edit at any time. So if I've put hue and saturation too far down, or I didn't put it down far enough, I can come back in here, make those adjustments with our adjustment layers, resave the files, and get them back into imported as an asset. So that's it for Photoshop. We've created our specular map, we've created our illumination map, and we've created our diffuse map. In the next video, we're going to go over the options that are available to us in City Skylines and finally get this model imported and see how we did.